25, I hit $100,000 a month on Airbnb without owning a single property. I'm gonna walk you through exactly how I did it so you can do the same thing. This video could save you months of mistakes. All right, so quick backstory on me. Long story short, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, even from grade school. In elementary school and middle school, I was doing everything from selling candy, selling sneakers, little lawn care businesses, snow shoveling businesses, you name it. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always wanted to be a business owner. I knew that my time didn't have to be tied to a dollar amount, right? Like I knew I didn't want to make an hourly wage. I wanted to buy things low, sell them. I joined the Air Force at 17. And, throughout my time in the Air Force, I learned everything I can about investing, real estate, building wealth, financial freedom. And I knew that somehow, some way, this could be a possibility for me since I'm seeing a lot of other people do it. So why couldn't I, right? I was investing in the stock market, doing that sort of thing while I was in. Eventually, I wanted to get into real estate investing. I knew how lucrative it could be, and I knew a lot of the most wealthy people in the world were heavily invested in real estate. So my first deal I did in real estate was what they call a live and flip. So I put 3% down on a single family home here in Florida. Now that home I bought for $140,000. Me and my partner, Genevieve, lived in it for about 6 months. We renovated the most bang for your buck renovations, the floors, kitchens, bathrooms, and eventually moved out and turned it into a rental. Now, throughout our time, we did a few more deals, whether they were house hacks, right? Like a duplex. When you buy a multifamily property, a house hack, you live in one unit and then you rent out the other unit or units. The goal for this is to buy a property, rent out the other units so that the tenants are paying your mortgage so that you're living for free, okay, because they're paying your mortgage payment. And then you're building equity in the home and the home's appreciating and you get the tax savings. So it's a really good deal, good way to get started. Now, eventually, I was in a young entrepreneurs mastermind group, okay? And this lady came on and spoke to us one week. And she had, I believe it was any short-term rentals. And she was just making great money, $30,000, $40,000 a month in cash flow. And you certainly can't do that in long-term rentals, right? Like the average long-term rental might cash flow you $100 to $400 a month. Now, short-term rentals, as I know now, can cash flow a lot more than that. We look to make at least $2,000 profit per month on our short-term rentals. So that kind of changed my whole outlook on real estate investing. I thought, hey, maybe if I stay in the Air Force this whole time, buy a bunch of long-term along the way, cash flow a couple $100 each a month, maybe I could get to that point. But now after learning about Airbnbs and short-term rentals and the profitability of that, I said, man, I got to go all in. So I took my profits from that and I bought my first Airbnb deal, okay? This cost me about $100,000 into the deal between down payment, cultivating it, and then getting it up to par with other short-term rentals in the area. Now, I was pleasantly surprised that for once, everything went as planned. This thing cash flows, even still to this day, about $3,000 to $4,000 a month. And it did that from the first month we listed it on Airbnb. It was coming time for that my contract was going to expire in the Air Force. And I had to make a decision. Was I going to re-up for another 4 years? Or was I going to get out and try to make real estate a full-time commitment? So that was a big decision for me. I had this one short-term rental that was cash flowing $3,000 to $4,000 a month, but I knew I couldn't live off of that income because if you live off of your profits, then your business is never going to grow. So I had to figure something out. We got offered a deal to buy an assisted living facility in California. So I got out of the Air Force and then we packed up all of our stuff and then we moved to California to run this assisted living facility. And long story short, it was just a nightmare. It was bleeding cash. We were sleeping on an air mattress on the floor and I was making the food for the residents and Genevieve was doing all the care, addressing the wounds, helping them go to the bathroom, changing diapers and that sort of thing. So we were in a pretty tough position, okay? And when, when we hit, I won't say rock bottom, but the moment where I really got into arbitrage and knew we had to find something else from this situation is we figured out that we had our baby boy on the way. And for me as a father, I, take great pride in taking care of my family. And I knew that I needed to step up and do something and make a change to make sure that my family was comfortable. So I started looking at jobs, right? I started looking for jobs in the area. In the Air Force, I was an intelligence analyst. So luckily, a good amount of jobs to pick from that were paying, close to six figures, if not a little bit above six figures. And I was interviewing for these positions. And I kind of came to the realization that I was kind of copping out, right? I knew I didn't like what I was doing in the Air Force as an intelligence analyst, kind of sitting in a dark room for, 8 to 12 hours a day, staring at a screen, that sort of thing. I didn't love it. And, I looked at it and I said, what's the actual risk? Okay. If I take one more chance as an entrepreneur and if I fail, what's the worst? I'm not going to be homeless. I have plenty of family that can help me out. I can live with them or whatever. But two, I can go get a normal job. So my worst case scenario is I just go get the normal job anyways. So I said, okay, let me take one more chance at this. And I sat down and I thought, and I said, what am I good at? Okay, well, we have this one short-term rental that's all the way back in Florida, and we're managing it from California. And that was kind of like our financial lifeline. It was cash flowing $3,000 to $4,000 a month. I said, man, I don't have the money to buy another property, but I know people online have talked about this arbitrage thing. What if I was able to do that? I know I have a really good system with one property. If I could just get my hands on a few more rentals, I know I can be profitable. I have a really good system. It's automated. So how do I do this? Okay, so I said, if I was going to somebody to rent their property, would I just rent this to some Joe Schmo? No. Okay, so how do we establish our business so we look more official? Okay, so from that point, I said, obviously we already had our LLC, but now I established a company website, a company pitch deck. I established some marketing material. So now rather than coming to these landlords and trying to rent their properties and saying, hey, I'm Matthew, I'd like to rent your property and sublet on Airbnb. Now I'd reach out to them and say, hey, I'm XYZ Management Company. We're a corporate leasing company. And what we do is we partner with landlords. We rent your property. And then what we do is we sublet to travelers and we rack and stack kind of our market, who we, corporate travelers, traveling nurses, traveling families, individuals. And we had this all on a nice pitch deck. And then I explained the benefits to them as a landlord. We sign long leases. We guarantee rent. We have the property deep cleaned 2 times a week. And we always have it inspected. Oh, by the way, we have hundreds of 5-star reviews already. And then you as the landlord know you can trust that. Because if we're getting a 5-star review, that means when a guest checks into the property, your property is in perfect condition, because guests don't just leave 5-star reviews if they're coming into a messed up property. So our first deal was actually in a mid-sized city in Savannah, and we got 4 units out there. So I actually flew out on my own. I set them up all by myself, which later I figured out was a mistake. It took me a whole month to set up these 4 units. We listed them on Airbnb. We set up our right systems, our price labs to manage our pricing, our hospitable to automate all the guest messaging, in our Turno to find cleaners and then automate the cleaning process. And really from month 1, they were cash flowing or profiting $2,000 per unit, right? So that's $8,000 a month cash flow. It was great. Flew back to California, continued to, kind of struggle with this business and in the assisted living business and figure out what we're going to do with it while the Airbnb business was doing really good. Just 2 months later, I found another amazing deal, a 15-bedroom property in the Disney World market. And this was a bit of a scary deal, right? Because the rent was $7,000 a month. But after running all the comps and analyzing the deal, I said, man, I might be crazy, but I think this thing can gross or bring in on Airbnb $20,000, $25,000, $30,000. And I said, man, it's scary paying $7,000 a month in rent. But if we can bring in that type of gross, this could be a life-changing deal. Plus, to get into this deal, it was already fully furnished, which is incredible. And then all in costs were about $25,000 between the down payment, the first month's rent. I guess it was down payment, first month's rent, finder's fee, right? Because I got this from a property finder. And then whatever little adjustments, like stocking the supply closet got really expensive because buying all those sheets, towels, and then adding decor to this property was expensive. So again, flew out to the Disney World market all by myself, set up this property, set up those same systems, Price Lab, Hospitable, Turno, got the property up and running. And again, we had another very profitable deal. And actually our best month with this property, I believe, was $34,000 gross, right? So you can do the math. I believe that was in July. So we profited $20,000 in one July, which is pretty crazy. Then, scaling to $100,000 a month, we kept doing the same thing. We lived below our means. We took all the profits from our Airbnb business and then we reinvested into more units. So now we have properties in Savannah, we have properties in Nashville, we have properties in Disney Market. Now we have 4 of these large homes over there. We still have properties in various areas in Florida, and just kind of kept growing and reinvesting everything back into the business. So the things I really wish I knew sooner was when I was first getting these properties, I must have called 100 landlords and kept getting no. That was before I established myself as an official business, right? So I think that's very important. Rather than saying, you're an individual, just want to rent the property and sublet, you need to establish yourself as a real company, a corporate leasing company or management company or whatever. You need to give yourself a title in the company and kind of like fake it till you make it, right? Because there is a lot of benefits in this business to the landlords. Like I talked about, we take better care of their property than a traditional tenant. We sign longer leases. You could call all the landlords you want, but at the end of the day, I think it's a more efficient strategy to get connected with property finders. And you can find these in a lot of Facebook groups, and they have pre-approved, vetted deals. Landlords already up to speed on the benefits to them of Airbnb arbitrage and leasing to somebody and then allowing them to sublet. And it can save you a lot of time and money if the deals are already furnished for you. I like to target deals that way. And a lot of times, as you know, somebody's not going to just get rid of a cash flowing, super profitable short-term rental. So when I'm looking for these furnished deals, what I like to see is identify what these properties are doing wrong and how I can make them more profitable. A lot of times, adding simple things like amenities that the market demands, increasing the bed count so you can sleep more people, and little decor and design touches can make a big difference, right? So a lot of times I like to ask for the Airbnb listing for this property. That way I can check it out and identify these things. A lot of times it could just be a bad listing. It could be bad reviews, poor photos, bad listing optimization. So a lot of times you can take a failing listing and flip it around right away. That's what we did with the Disney properties, actually. They were failing with their previous property management company. They weren't even profiting. And we took that listing, flipped it around, made a good listing, added more beds, improved the decor and the design, and now we've been super profitable on those for over 2 years now. So I guess if you're just starting out, my main advice, and this is going to sound biased, but I'd say invest in a mentor, because knowing what I know now, I can get deals right away. I can analyze deals and profit right away in 30 days. So investing that small bit of money into a mentor and somebody that already has pre-approved deals, they have a system, and they can literally just plug you in and get everything going right away. It's going to save you so much time, so much money, so much effort. Just remember that whatever you invest in a mentor is actually going to be a write-off. So you're not going to pay taxes on that money you invest in your mentor, which is pretty cool. If you want help setting up your business, I do offer a mentorship program. I'll show you how to find the deals, pitch landlords, and automate your business. If you want this, just send me a DM on Instagram. My Instagram is @matthew.bnb, and just hit me up in the DMs. I'd love to help you out. This business has changed my life. It's changed my family's life, and it's afforded me a lifestyle that I didn't think would be possible this early on in my life. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.